Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Zeus Rodriguez, President of Hispanics for School Choice. I want to start by thanking La Casa de Esperanza, which in Spanish fittingly means the House of Hope, for hosting us today. I also want to thank all the student and parent ambassadors from their other schools that are here, as well as our Hispanics for School Choice team. You've all done a great job bringing this together, and thank you. I could not be more excited personally. I have the honor of introducing two of my three favorite governors of all time, former Governor Jeb Bush and our very own superstar governor from Wisconsin, Scott Walker. Hometown advantage. Governor Thompson. Along with Governor Tommy Thompson, no other governors have done more and have been willing to fight tooth and nail for the right of parents to choose the best school for their children than Jeb Bush and Scott Walker. That's right. We're going to start off with a few words from Governor Bush, then we'll hear from Governor Walker, and finally a few questions from our student ambassadors. So Jeb and his wife Kalumba live in Miami. They have 3 children and 4 grandchildren. Jeb was the 43rd governor of the state of Florida, where he was regarded as the most successful conservative reformer in the country. His 8 years were marked by record tax cuts, reductions in government spending, strong job growth, and major government reforms, including an overhaul of Florida's failing education system. Following his time as governor, Jeb returned to a career in private sector and also devoted time to issues he is passionate about, especially education reform and school choice. Since launching his candidacy for presidency, Jeb has laid out a vision for how we can reform Washington, D.C., restore America's leadership role in the world, and grow our economy so that everyone has the opportunity to rise up and achieve their dreams. But as everyone here today knows, none of these things can be accomplished without providing our current and future generations of children with a top-notch American education. What everyone here in Wisconsin knows firsthand is that we can't accomplish that goal either without strong state and national leadership to fight on behalf of families. So on behalf of Hispanics for School Choice and everyone else here today, thank you, Governor Walker, and thank you, Governor Bush, for providing that leadership. Now, it is my privilege and honor to introduce to you a leader with a great big heart, a will to fight, a will to win, and who is a champion for every single parent and student here today who needs and wants school choice. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Governor Jeb Bush.
Thank you, Zeus. Woo-hoo! Yee! Thank you, Zeus, and thank you all for coming out. I'm honored to be here with Scott Walker, who has fought for school choice and school reform. It isn't the easiest thing in the world to take on really powerful entrenched interests. This guy did it, not just in education, but across the board, and continues to do it each and every day. I thought I would tell you 3 quick stories and then pass the baton off to your great governor. In 1998, I was a candidate for governor, and I decided I would do something different. Rather than tell people what I believed about education, I actually wanted to listen first. So I decided I was going to go visit 100 schools, and I liked it so much, I ended up going to 200 and then 260 schools in a 9-month period, not counting summer where the schools are closed. So effectively, I was seeing 3 or 4 schools a day. And what I saw was great teachers, principal leaders in many places that were leading, but what it confirmed to me was that the system itself needed to change. I'll never forget going into a lab in the back part of a high school where back then, Florida had an 8th grade level high school graduation requirement. Imagine that, Scott, 8th grade. And the kid that was taking the remedial test to prepare for the exit test, that young man, if he missed it, he wasn't going to graduate, could not answer the following question. A baseball game starts at 3, it ends at 4:30, how long is the game? If you think about that, and you think about the tragedy that is likely to unfold if people don't have higher expectations for every child, it broke my heart. And it should break everybody's heart that we have a system where we dumb down expectations to make the adults look better, but the children fail. We're not fooling anybody. If a child can't answer that question, how are they going to be able to go on to college? How are they going to be able to get a job where they can live a life of purpose and meaning? So it validated my belief that we need high expectations and intervene early so that no child in this great country of ours is stuck at that level. Here's my belief. My belief is that life is divinely inspired. It's a gift from God, that people are extraordinary, particularly young people. They're really bright. They start looking less bright when they start acting like the adults. If we believe that children can learn and have high, lofty expectations, they will exceed our expectations each and every day. Second story. This is a story of a young woman I met this last year who was in the education system in Florida. Her name is Denisha Merriweather. Denisha was held back in 3rd grade twice. She was angry. Can you imagine being held back twice? She just no one ever told her that she was capable of learning, I guess. And the net result was she was on a path to drop out of school at an early age. Her godmother found out about the Florida Corporate Tax Scholarship Program, the largest voucher program in the country. Now 80,000 students are going to private schools because I took on very powerful interest, just as Scott Walker has done, to expand the voucher program statewide in this state. Denisha, when she went to this Christian school under the Corporate Tax Scholarship Program, I can just imagine the first week in class. A teacher probably put her arm around her and said, "You're blessed. You're capable. You're smarter than what people have told you. You can learn. You can do it." And she overcame the hardship of being held back 2 years in a row and was the first in her family to graduate from college. And now she's getting a master's. Well, in Florida and Wisconsin, because we're opening up the systems for students to be able to rise up, thousands and thousands of kids will have a chance to get a job or go to college or to live a life of purpose and meaning. In Wisconsin, kids aren't being told they're not capable of learning. And I believe that is the best path for the entire country. Final story. I have a heart for people that are struggling with disabilities. Because if you believe that life is a gift from God, everybody has a chance to make a contribution. And in Florida, thanks to the work of the president of the Florida Senate, we worked together and we created the first voucher program for the learning disabled. And the story isn't one of that much of a fight. It was a fight. It's, there's challenges all the time. The union didn't like it to begin with. But the simple fact was that we now have 30,000 kids going to private schools with public money with children with learning disabilities. But here's the story that I'm most proud of. That is fantastic for those 30,000 kids. They're told also that they're special and unique, and that the school their parents want to go to is the one that's right for them. But here's the end of the story. Guess what state leads the nation in learning gains for kids with disabilities? Florida. Why would that be? Quite simply, when you empower parents, giving them the power to choose, everybody gets better, because they're now having to compete for your dollars. Parent power is what this should be about. We should respect and trust parents that they love their children with their heart and soul, and that they make the right decisions for their families. All schools get better when you empower parents to make choices. I'm honored to be here amongst parents that are fighting for the cause to make sure that more and more students here in Wisconsin have the choice that their parents want. I admire you. Just as much as I admire Scott Walker, I admire the fact that parents are on the front line of this fight. I hope you'll stay the course. I hope you'll continue to fight hard. This is not about the economic interests of the adults. This is about making sure that children have the capability to reach their God-given abilities, and you should be proud of your efforts. unas palabritas en español. Ustedes hablan español, ¿verdad? De vez en cuando les dejan hablar español en la casa, ¿no? A todos que hablan español, yo también lo hago, y lo hago con orgullo. Lo hago porque mi esposa Columba es de León, Guanajuato, México. Un ciudadano de este país, pero orgullosa de su herencia. Now, I have the distinct honor to introduce someone who doesn't need any introduction in Milwaukee or in this country, a fighter for the cause of school choice, Scott Walker. Thank you, Governor.
Well, thanks, Governor Bush, not just for introducing me, and thanks for being here, but thank you for being such a great leader in Florida, not just for the state of Florida, for people across this country. Some of you may notice, others may not, but we looked, as did many other governors that were elected in 2010, at what happened in Florida because there was a transformation, and we appreciate that leadership. I'm so glad to see all the students here. I was with some of the students here at the charter school here, the brand new one, La Casa Esperanza, and you were so good to give me a nice banner. I still have the banner. I know there are students from all different schools here, but I still have the banner that says welcome and thank you. We appreciate that. Although I had to laugh that day, I don't know if you remember, but one of the handprints that was on it, somebody had put their hand in a whole lot of paint, and it was still wet, and I was just waiting for that to get on the red, beautiful sweaters there, but it didn't. But it's great to be back. And I want to tell you, I'm here to tell, not all of you, but particularly to tell Governor Bush not only thanks, but to tell him a little bit about some of the great things that are happening here in Wisconsin. And I'll too tell you just a story or two real briefly. When I think about the students I see here, I see students from charter schools, I see students from choice schools through vouchers, I see some families from traditional public schools here as well. And that's all right, because that's what this is all about. It's about giving families, giving parents as many great choices for their sons and daughters as possible. I have two sons. One is with me here. Alex is a junior at the University of Wisconsin in Madison. My other son goes to school in Milwaukee at Marquette University. One is a public school, one is a private school. When I tell people I've got a son at Marquette, a Jesuit Catholic institution, and another son at the University of Wisconsin, a public school, nobody thinks that's odd, right? Nobody goes, oh, that's odd. Because both are great schools, and both are the right schools for Matt and for Alex. After a lot of time, a lot of consideration, they thought about what was the right school, and that's the one that they went to. So why is it so shocking that families pick schools based about what's the right interest for their sons and daughters when it goes from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade? That's what we're doing here in the state of Wisconsin. It's not just about expanding charter schools or choice schools. It's about expanding the quality education choices for every family in the state of Wisconsin, whether it's at a traditional public school, a charter school, a virtual school, a home school, whatever environment is best for your son and daughter, we're going to give you that choice here in the state of Wisconsin. And we're interested that not only in Wisconsin, we want to have that happen not only in Wisconsin and Florida, but all across the country. But we need to have leaders who understand that, and that's why I'm so glad to reinforce not only what Governor Bush has done, but to ask him and to ask others who are going to be in here tomorrow to look at Wisconsin, to look at what we've done, to look at the successes. Governor Bush and I laughed and smiled when Zeus said we were two of his three favorite governors. We were kind of curious leaning in to hear who the third was. And no surprise here in Wisconsin, it was Tommy Thompson. Because Tommy Thompson, in many ways, is the godfather of school choice, not just here in Wisconsin, but across America. And I think back to when I was in the legislature and worked with Tommy Thompson, helping expand the first choice program in America, and then expand it not just from its starting point, but to parochial schools, and then to expand it. And then I was so honored as your governor, working with the legislature, great members of the Assembly and the Senate, to lift the caps. Remember, there used to be caps on income. There used to be caps on the number of students. There used to be a challenge. I remember for years before I was governor, seeing families who were concerned, thinking that their younger son or daughter might not be able to get in because there was a cap there. We lifted those caps in Wisconsin. We lifted the caps on income. We expanded it to receive, and then in subsequent budgets, we passed it statewide, so that particularly low-income families have access to vouchers all across the state of Wisconsin. And now, regardless of income, everybody gets a tax deduction if you send your son or daughter to a private school. Why? Because we want as many quality choices as possible in education. But last year, about this time, right before the election, I remember meeting a mom named Dina. A mom named Dina, who was actually from a school up in Appleton. And she had met our Lieutenant Governor, Rebecca Clayfish, and Rebecca told me, you've got to meet this mom, because when she first met her, there were tears in her eyes, and she was shaking because she was worried because the person who was running against me for governor said that she was going to end the statewide voucher program. And Dina was worried because she knew what it meant to her children, particularly she had a son and a daughter, but particularly her son, and she was very careful not to knock the public school her son had been before, because she said that's a good school for certain students, but it wasn't for her son. Her son was failing. He didn't like school. He was being bullied. And so she grabbed one of those first vouchers that we offered a few years ago so that her son and her daughter could go to this school, this private school that gave her an opportunity. And I got a chance last year, right before the election, to meet her and her son and her daughter. And her son looked up at me and shook his hand, or shook my hand, looked me right in the eye, and his mom proudly said, my son now has doubled his test scores. He's succeeding in class. He's tried out for the band. He's playing football on the team. He loves going to school. Thank you for giving us the choice to have this opportunity for our son. That's what this is all about. You see, we want to give every family the choice that is right for your sons and daughters so that they can succeed. They can succeed like the young people here are going to do, just those starting up and the high schoolers that are here. We're betting on you. We know, given the right choice, you can succeed not just in school, but all throughout the rest of your life. So we're thrilled to be here today to talk about not only what it means for Wisconsin, but what it means for this entire nation. The better choices we give to parents, the better choices we give to families, the better off we're going to be going forward. Thank you to all the parents and to all the advocates for being here to make that possible, not just for today's events, but for all that you do for your children each and every day. With that, I'm going to turn it back to Zeus, and I think we're going to take some questions.
Thank you, Governor Walker and Governor Bush. We're going to take a couple of questions from a couple of student ambassadors who have some prepared questions for the governor. So if we can have them come around over to the gentleman with the microphone, the first person. No, it's from...
Hello, Governor Bush. My name is Demarius Clay from St. Marcus Lutheran School. My question is, high school graduation rates for black students are too low, and how would you address that problem?
So it's a great question. I think high school graduation rates are too low for everybody, for starters. I think we ought to have as an aspirational goal that every child graduate. Doesn't mean that every child needs to go to college, but they need to be college or career ready. So how would we do that? Well, I think if we were starting from scratch, we wouldn't have 13,000 monopolies as the governance model for education. We would empower parents to make more choices. We would have higher expectations, so that when you graduated from 12th grade, you actually had a 12th grade level understanding of math and reading most particularly. High standards with real assessments, with real accountability, where you're intervening early because you actually assess to know where students are, is the way you deal with the gaps that begin to grow and grow. I bet you've met no kids that are smart, but because there hasn't been any kind of intervention, the gap gets so big that they lose hope, that they don't think they can make it. You know, if you're an 8th grade reader in 11th grade, basically it's really hard to catch up 4 years in a year. So intervention early to make sure that every child could read by 3rd grade. In Florida, we eliminated this idea of social promotion, that 3rd graders graduating, going on to 4th grade without being able to read is okay. Well, it isn't. It's not okay at all. It's horrible. If you can't read by 4th grade, you're not going to be able to do math and science and history, right? So we intervene early We have more 4-year-olds going to literacy-based pre-K programs than any state in the country, and we have a gate in 3rd grade that's a serious gate. You cannot get through it unless you're better than a functionally illiterate reader. So if you intervene early, you have high expectations, you can see graduation rates soar. And that's what Florida has done, and I bet you that's what Wisconsin's doing as well. The final thing that I think is important is to make sure that college is affordable as well. If you're in high school and you don't see a link, a connection to what you're doing in the classroom and what the next step is, you're not going to be as motivated. But if you believe you can go to college, community college, or you can go to trade school, and you know that there's a direct path to being able to make a living or graduate from college with a degree that creates the chance to do the same, then you're motivated. And so I think finding ways to have scholarship programs for first and family, if you're the first in your family to go to college, we ought to have scholarship programs nationally and at the state levels to make sure that those children can go. There should be more counseling for young people to understand what the connection is to their high school experience and going on to college. There's a lot that can be done to make it more relevant. And I think that's what we saw in Florida is we've seen significant gains in graduation rate amongst Latinos, African Americans, and everybody. In fact, Florida, when I was in 1998, Florida was 50th out of 50 states in graduation rate. I mean, we couldn't even whisper, Scott, thank God for, name your favorite state. Everybody was saying, thank God for Florida. And we've had an improvement in graduation rate each and every year since 1999. You can do it, but you got to be all in.
Thank you. St. Martini.
My name's Ingrid. I have a question for Governor Walker. Do all families in Wisconsin get to pick the best school for their children?
Say that again?
Do all families in Wisconsin get to pick the best school for their children?
Well, it's a great question, and part of the reason why we expanded school choice options throughout the state was to make sure that not only in Milwaukee and Racine, but in all the other communities across the state, there'd be an option, and it grows every year. So right now it starts income-based, but our goal is to lift it over time so that every family can find out whether it's at a traditional public school, where many families choose to go, whether it's at a charter school, whether it's at a choice school through a voucher, or for that matter, whether it's through a virtual school environment, or even for some parents through homeschool environment. We want to make sure that every family in the state has access to a great education, and by expanding the vouchers, we allow that to happen. Great question.
Thank you. Hope Christian School.
Hey, my name is Leon Johnson, and I'm a senior at Hope Christian High School, and I was wondering how will you work to ensure every student in our country has a choice of a great school like Hope Christian Schools?
Let's go first. This is for both of you.
I'll pass it. I'll start and then lead it up to Governor Bush. But Governor Bush, it actually leads into what you said in your answer before, because Hope is one of the schools I was mentioned before where this will be the 5th graduating class, if I'm right? 5th graduating class in a row where every one of the graduating seniors is going on to college, be it a 2 or a 4 year. And this goes to your point about high expectations. We're proud in this state. Every year I've been in office, too, the graduation rates have gone up. We're now the 3rd highest, I believe, according to one ranking, graduation rates in the country. But we need to say that every child, every student, not just child, because I know young people, young men and women in high school, but every student should have access to a great education, and we should have high expectations, and we can do it. If you're able to do it, your graduating class, along with the great parents and teachers and faculty and others at Hope and all the other schools, Mesmer and the others that are out there like that, there's no reason why we can't do it, not only in every school here in the state of Wisconsin, but for every school across the entire country, and that fits in well with Governor Bush, what you were saying.
Thank you, Governor. By the way, the 3 questions, they're better than the moderated debate questions that existed. Just saying. If you're free tomorrow night, maybe you could come by. the arena. Let me ask you a question, if you don't mind, because this is an incredible fact that your school, every senior graduates and goes on to college. That's not many places can say that. So tell me why you think that's the case. Why is it that you have that extraordinary successful record? Because it probably is. It would apply to all other schools as well, right?
Yeah. Well, I think it's hard work and spirit of cooperation.
Spirit of cooperation and hard work. You have homework?
Every day.
And you're an athlete?
I was, not this year.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things I think in life that people kind of forget, that working hard is a virtue. You can work, you can have fun, you can do your homework, you can do all of these things, and you still have time to be able to be with your family and do other things as well. In a school that creates a culture where work is rewarded and appreciated, I think is part of the culture of success that you have. So look, this isn't that complicated. If you assume that everybody's capable of reaching their God-given abilities, then it seems to me that everybody around students ought to be focused on making that happen, tearing down the barriers. So high expectations, you should have real strong content in your curriculum, great effective teachers, no tolerance for not being serious and applying yourself, having a spirit of cooperation as you described, and high expectations that you believe in your heart that every child will graduate from college or go to college. And my guess is you have a pretty good success rate of finishing college as well. That if you start with that premise, you're going to get a far better result than saying, well, some kids can learn and some kids can't. That we're going to lower expectations because it's not fair for low-income kids to have the same expectations than high-income kids. All of the soft bigotry of low expectations, which is what my brother called our schools, basically, this culture that says it's not fair, does a disservice to every child in America, because God has given this ability to children. It's up to us to make sure that they fulfill their destiny. Thank you. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Bush. So that concludes our general programming for right now, and for the next few minutes we're going to have time for the families and the children to continue to mingle and meet with the governors. For the concern and safety of our little ones, we're going to ask that the press stays on the outer perimeter so that the governors can meet and greet with who they came here for, because Principal Casey will kick your butt. So thank you very much. One more round of applause for our governors.